Spooky Catalyst.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
I know it's a tiebreaker for you and I.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to win that one. Don't worry.
Justin, you are so far off the back of that series, huh? I don't know what you can do.
Hey, welcome to SOIL Cycling. My name is Matt Golson, and I am the host of this show. We are Southern Illinois Cycling, covering, the racing, the action, the things going on in Southern Illinois pertaining to bike racing. And we are doing a live remote show today, and we haven't done this in a while, so hopefully it stays working. See, I'm freezing up all the time. That's okay. We don't need my camera anyway. So, all right. So we got some guests with us today, and let's just start up with, I guess the top right-hand corner for me is Gabe. Go ahead, Gabe.
Yep, Gabriel Arnone.
There. We got Justin Pohl. Justin, what do you got to say today?
Oh, it's been a long day, dude. Been a long day. They spent the day racing in St. Louis.
Wow. And we got Hank in the middle.
Hey, everyone. Hank Dieters from Marion, and I'll be talking about the senior games coming up next month.
Awesome. And a new guest, not a normal cast member, but I'm just so excited to have Nate here. Nate, tell us what's going on. Why are you here?
Well, I guess the real reason is me and Gabe's rivalry. I'll say that's number one.
Yeah.
I want to get to the add a note here that on episode 9 I was slandered right at the beginning of the podcast. So I want to get that out of the way. That
I think I remember that.
Oh, you're the one that was listening.
Yeah, of course I was. I just started getting all these messages that, hey, you're on the podcast. Hey, you're on the podcast. I get on there, and Gabe is saying that I left him, which ultimately I did. But we started
Actually,
coming
no,
up this hill.
he said you said screw you and give him the finger and ran off.
Yeah. All I said was I just had the image of Dumb and Dumber in my head whenever they're at the gas station. He's like, big gulp, eh? Well, see you later. So when I seen Gabe, I said, hey, Gabe, see you later. And I kept on going.
I don't think that's the words that were uttered.
And the reason that I really was excited to get you on this show is because seeing on Facebook the massive success you had at the Gateway Crit, the Gateway Cup crits here. It's not every day that we get actual race winners on our show. And so, we get some guys who maybe get third, maybe second, but a race winner is rare. So, Nate, you recently just pretty much had a great time at the Gateway Cup.
Yeah, and I kind of went up there on a whim. We've got this group message with all the Paducah guys, and Chris Henderson, he goes up there every year. And he's trying to get people to go. And then, Austin messaged me the night before, and he's like, I really think you need to go up there. And I didn't really have a good excuse not to go. My weekend was free. All my A events are over. I'm just trying to have fun on my bicycle. So, I turned up to St. Louis not knowing what Gateway Cup even really was. I knew it was a crit, but I wasn't ready for the scale of what we were getting into.
Yeah, because you'd done one crit, the practice crit with us, or 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah, we had some. Sometimes it's Tuesday nights, sometimes it's Thursday nights, but
yeah,
it's officially the Tuesday night crit. But
Tuesday night, Thursday crit.
Yeah. So we had some fun dicing it up there, but nothing official.
Yeah.
I will say, none of you guys got to actually watch him race. It was impressive. He was hidden the entire time. I think he might have done 3 watts the entire race until the last 100 meters. And then it's 2,200 or whatever.
Yeah, it was. I told myself that I was just going to surf wheels all day long. And once you get to the course, those courses are wide open. And so there's no reason to spend any time on the front, and there's no breakaway going to go except for maybe on the hill. So
Yeah.
I just said, with 5 laps to go, I'll just start moving up to the front and just try to put myself in a good position come the last lap.
Did you have any teammates or people that you had a coalition with?
No, I knew absolutely nobody there, which I think ultimately benefited me because there was actually, for a 4 or 5, there was probably 3 or 4 teams, and they all had trouble getting coordinated.
So Nate, I do want to like let you talk a little bit here on, not day 1 or day 2. Like those are flat 4-corner crits. I got to watch your last lap attack at the hill there at Giro de Montagna.
Yeah.
And that was pretty impressive. You want to talk through that?
So that was the day I was most nervous about because everybody traditionally says that that's the hardest day of the crit. But I would say it actually ended up being the easiest day. And it wasn't because of the course, but I feel like everybody was kind of racing scared. Nobody wanted to stay on the front. Every time we'd get like 3/4 of the way up the hill, like everybody would just let off the gas. And there was a pretty sharp left-hand turn going into the hill, and it was pretty tight. So I just kept taking the outside line, and you'd pass like 10 people in one turn.
Lucky.
Yeah, in the 4-5, I can understand the 3-4 being different, but yeah, I would pass those 10 to 15 people every single lap, and then I'd let those 10 to 15 people pass me up the hill. And then sure enough, by the time those 10 or 15 people passed me, the guys up front just kind of let off the gas.
Yeah, so to give you guys an idea of kind of what this course looks like, it's the start finish straight is downhill. Left-hand turn.
Long downhill.
Long downhill. Left-hand turn, sketchy pavement, a lot of people wrecked.
Pain on the road.
Pain on the road. Another left-hand turn, which is what turn he was talking about, going onto the hill. And then the hill is, what, 1/4 of a mile maybe?
Yeah, it's probably pretty close.
1/4 of a mile. Not a lot of elevation gain, but it just kind of stair steps itself all the way to the top. Left-hand corner, another left-hand corner, and you're back down the. It's a 4-corner, but it's got a 1/4 mile rise and a 1/4 mile fall. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool course.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
That
was Saturday
Sunday.
right now.
That was Sunday.
This was Sunday.
We're talking Sunday.
Yeah, it started on Friday. And yeah, I think about right on the 5 laps to go, I told myself like, hey, it's time to start moving forward. And sure enough, like 3 laps to go, turn 2, there was a crash, like right after I'd moved up. So everybody starts getting antsy. And I think that there's some videos out there of it, but I think 2 laps to go, there was 2 teams trying to control. There was a team from Denver. They had like 1 or 2 guys up there, and then they started playing a little bit of cat and mouse with the second team. They had about 5 guys the last 2 laps trying to control the pace, and they set a pretty hard pace. But like I said, a couple of these corners were pretty tight, and everybody was getting pretty nervous. So if you could just stay outside and not get boxed in, you could pretty well pedal through most of these turns, and while everybody else was on the brakes. So I just kept taking outside lines, and 1 lap to go, I move up right behind the team with like 4 guys on the front. So I knew that I didn't know who their sprinter was, if they had a sprinter, but I knew that they were trying to keep the pace high so we didn't get swarmed. Well, we come around turn 2, and we start dropping down into there's a little bit of a drop down into the hill before you start climbing up into turn 3, and turn 3 is at the very top of the hill. Well, they had 2 guys that were just hitting it hard, and their guy up front finally flicked his elbow for his teammate to come through, and his teammate just didn't do anything. Like, he just sat there. And so we just started the hill, and he was drilling it down into the hill. So, he was hurting. I imagine the guy, he had taken a few pulls, he was hurting. Well, the guy, their leader just started falling back, and they started looking, all four of them started looking at each other, and I was like, well, it's now or never. Like, we're about to get swarmed, and I'm going to go from 5th place to 20th place in the matter of 5 seconds. So as soon as they started looking at each other, I was like, I've got to go. So I just launched as hard as I could from about 5th place. And I ended up going back to my Strava numbers. I know it's my one humble brag that I've got for the whole thing is I did 1,000 watts for 20 seconds up that hill.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of wattage.
And by the time we got to turn 3, I had about a 2-second gap. It was like 2.5 seconds. And then it's pretty well all the way downhill down to the start, down to the finish line. So I knew if I could get to that turn, I put in like 4 or 5 hard pedal strokes out of the turn. And then there was an even sharper, like turn 4 was even sharper and more hard to manage. And so I knew like I finally got the one chance to hit that corner clean for the entire race because I was in the back. And so I just dove in as hard as I could and put in like 10 seconds of as hard as I could, but I knew it was downhill. So for them to close the gap downhill, they were going to have to get together. And I knew as soon as I had launched that they were not on the same page. So I was hoping that it was going to be mass chaos behind me and a bunch of pointing fingers. And of course that ended up what it was being. And I got to roll it in with my hands up in the air. Like it was the coolest feeling.
Honestly, whenever you attacked, I looked over at Chris and I go, oh, he gone.
Yeah, because you were like 3/4 of the way up the hill. And I was just like, I have no idea if this is going to work. It's kind of a gamble. And I was actually worried about the sprint because it was such a long downhill. Like, there was a good chance that we could spin out, and then it's not really a sprint at that point. It's whoever can turn over the highest cadence. So
Gabe's got to go next year.
What chain rings do you have?
48-34. Which
yeah, that's what
it was easy to get. Like, I can spin out at like 40 miles an hour, and it was not hard to hit 40 going down that hill. So
yeah,
I didn't want to take the chance.
Justin keeps on trying to talk me into going racing some crits. I'm not sure. That's
I figured he should do cyclocross first.
Yeah,
it's like a crit, but like the ground hurts a lot less.
It did make me a little jealous because I knew Nate. I didn't know if he had ever done crits before, or if he had done some, not many. And we'd done the Thursday night crits together, and I felt like we were fairly well, as we've already maybe mentioned, fairly evenly matched. And I was like, man, I should have gone up there and done those.
Oh yeah, you should have definitely came up. You definitely had the fitness, then you've got the sprint. So
I just looked. My 22nd power that I've done is 940 on a group ride.
Yeah, you would have.
So, but we probably both would have lost because we would have been watching each other, and then your advantage would have gone away. So,
yeah, we'd have been.
You made it sound so easy. You're just you're like, oh, I've just kind of surfed wheels. My experience in these crits is that it's, I went in with a plan like to do that. And then it was more like, I'm just trying not to get dropped the whole race. So I think, your group, your Bike World group ride fitness level is something that, brought you up there where you could actually think about what you were doing, make plans, and not just be hanging off like I was when I tried to do a crit race, just hanging off the back.
I think the Tuesday night crits was like the biggest thing because I mean, where else do you get exposure? So that was definitely nice to have we go out there and have fun, but those, like, you have to deal with real scenarios during those races, and we're all trying things. We don't know if they're going to work. Like, we're just out having fun and just riding our bikes. So
I was going to bring that up. You said you took a gamble, and that's almost like how all races are. Matt, we've talked about before, like, you don't get to win many races. Like, you go do races, and most of the time you're going to be mid-pack or wherever. Like, you don't win very many, and the whole thing is gambles. Like, the few races that I have won or even been on podiums or something, it was a gamble that ended up working out in my favor. And I like that you mentioned that. It's like, this is either going to work or I'm probably going to get dropped.
Yeah, sometimes you have to throw your hat in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't. It's like the lottery. You can't win if you don't play. You got to take a risk.
Yep.
Yeah,
For sure.
So Nate, I don't know crits very well. So you won 3 races in a row, your very first time doing crits. So what happens next? Are you allowed to go?
Insane.
Yeah, are you allowed to go back and do 4 or 5 again, or they automatically boot you up to 4 or 4 3? Is there a rule?
Yeah, there is a point up rule, but there's going to be a matter of interpretation to this, because I couldn't quite get a straight answer. Because when I went up there, the first race was Cat 5, and I was wanting to go up. When I was originally going up there, I was going to do the 4-5, and then I was going to do the 3-4, because USA Cycling says that you can voluntarily move up to Cat 4 whenever you want. Well, when I went to sign up, they were kind of leery about letting me sign up for 3-4. And so, I was like, okay, so I signed up for 4-5, and I went back to the rule book after the 4-5 race, because I've driven all the way to St. Louis. I was only planning on being there for Friday's race. I was like, I want to do the 3-4, but it ended up being like 96 degrees, and I got there super early, and I ended up being toast. And my buddies had done talked me into doing the race the next day, so I went back to the officials' tent, and I was like, hey, I know we can voluntarily move up to 4. And he's like, well, how did you do in the 4-5? I was like, well, I won it, and I had the leader's jersey in my hands. He's like, oh, how many times have you raced before? And I was like, no, this is the first time. It's like, oh, well, that doesn't happen very often. So he showed me how to go. You have to go online and manually move up to 4. But when you go to Cat 4, there's a 3-race win mandatory upgrade. So, and the timing of which they calculate this into USA Cycling, I don't know when they say this is when you're a 5 and this is when you're a 4. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to keep on racing 4 until they tell me to move up. So we'll just see how that goes.
I think you got one more race.
I think so too. Technically I should have one more race, but it depends on how the official sees it.
Are you going to keep doing crits? You want to keep doing it?
I plan on maybe doing some on the side, and maybe doing some moonlighting here or there. I know that in Paducah we're trying to get, sort of a Paducah race team together, but I've made it clear that next year my only goal is to go to Leadville. I've got my qualifier spot, so I'm going to spend 8 months of next year just preparing for Leadville. So I don't want to take too many risks going to a crit and getting myself hurt. So I'm just going to kind of play it by ear.
Thursday crits are pretty safe. We've not had very many accidents, so you can get the crit fun with us.
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe
Gateway.
I'm going to touch all the wood here because I'm not trying to have that happen.
Justin, You want to talk about your Cat 3 experiences? I know you used some colorful language to tell me how it went for you, but tell us a little bit how your weekend went.
So I went in with like no bike time for about 8 weeks leading into it. It was a very busy time for me, so I went in with almost no fitness, and it was terrible. I mean, I just hung on the back like I didn't have the ability to go, oh, I want to move up. Like I knew I wanted to move up, and I knew that I could move up in certain spots, but like everybody's so strong that it was like almost impossible to move up on the straights because I just didn't have the horsepower. And the only way to move up in the corners was to either risk getting barriered on one way or the other. So either you're dive bombing and about to take out the barrier on the inside, or you're going to get pushed outside and get taken on the barrier outside. And neither one of those sound very fun. So I moved up as much as I could, as people were just kind of like moving to the front, and I would catch a free ride when I could. But yeah, it was pretty bad feeling that like some of the guys I've been racing earlier in the year, they were just sitting in the back having a chat, heart rate 135, and my heart rate was pegged at 185 for 4 days straight. And by the start of that fourth day, I was really feeling it. By the start of Monday, I didn't want any more of it, and then that course was terrible.
Yeah, Monday. Don't even get me started on Monday. Like everybody's tired, and yeah,
that's a hard.
That was a hard course. I did the 3-4 on Monday, and yeah, I got shucked out the back. It was, I think only like 18, maybe 17 people out of the like 80 made it to the line.
Wow.
Yeah. It pretty much got blown up immediately. Like Nate hung on for a little bit longer, then got dropped shortly after I did, I think. And I ended up riding this like chase group for a while. And we came by Nate, and I was like, hey, come on.
I was like, no, I'm done suffering. You all made it by, and I soft pedaled around the finish line, and the official's like, do you want to go more? And I just told her no, and I literally took a bow on the finish line, and that was the end of it.
Now, did you finish as the 4-5 champion of the week, like the Gateway leader for that?
Yeah. I had already secured the champion or the Omnium because every day like was just the order was completely different. So by race 3, I already had a 25-point lead, which was the first place points reward. So all I had to do was beat second place in points on the hill, which obviously we didn't talked about what happened there. So they actually pulled me up on stage and interviewed me, and they're like, we think you should do the 3-4 tomorrow. And I'm like everybody's gassing me up. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do the 3-4 tomorrow. They didn't tell me that there was this huge hill going up the finish line, and that you had to be 135 pounds to even finish the race.
I know I was doing 450, 500 up that hill every lap.
Yeah, it was miserable. And I didn't get there late, but I was trying to give everybody like their respect, and like I started pretty far towards the back. And that's the one time I'll say that it was a terrible idea to be in the back, because it was constantly, I probably closed 20 gaps and there was zero rest. Like normally, like the pack is like one group, but it was like every single lap you would have to close like a 20-foot gap, and even down the downhills. So like even when you're supposed to be resting, like you're still full gas. So yeah, not that it would have made much difference to me. Like I would have still got dropped, but
yeah,
that's if you were fresh going into that race, if that was the only one you did, could you have hung on the 3 with the 3 group?
Not on that course. I actually did the 3-4 on the second day, and it was easier than the 4-5 because everybody knows. Well, most people know how to handle their bikes a lot better. So the surging is near like non-existent. So it was actually easier hanging on the second day with the 3-4 than it was with any 4-5 race. It was just everybody was a lot stingier, like giving up their position.
Yeah.
So moving up was, like for that second day, I moved up to like 7th or 8th wheel, maybe up to like 5th wheel on the last turn. But I did so much work to get to that point that I stood up to sprint and I just didn't have it. Like I stood up, I took 2 pedal strokes, and I literally stopped pedaling. I was so exhausted. So, but no,
Yeah,
on that course, it was torture.
Yeah, in the 4-5s, you can almost bully people a little bit, kind of like
a
bully
lot of
them off
people
their
are
line a
thinking they
little
need to
bit.
stay out of the way. You know,
Yeah.
They're like, I need to stay out of everybody's way. And I think that's some of the nervousness and stuff in 4-5. You know, everybody's like not real confident, of course. So my friend Luke Reagan went to do Gateway Cup many years ago when he was just really getting into cycling. He's a super fit guy, you know, really, really strong cyclist, but had never really done any real group riding or anything. And he told me that it was one of the worst experiences of his life because he got screamed at, yelled at by all these like, you know, he's like old dudes that I know I'm faster than, but they basically, he said they bullied him and he got real intimidated. You know, he's like, I got tired of getting cussed out because, you know, and I'm like, well, you really don't probably know how to handle your bike, but did you have any dudes getting angry in your race?
Not towards me, but there was a lot of chirping, like just in general.
Yeah.
Like everybody, like there was a couple of breakaways and a couple of races that, you know, would stay away for 5 to 10 minutes. And they would be like chirping, like, who's going to close that gap? Well, nobody ended up having to do it because, you know, you're averaging 27 mile an hour, like as a group, like nobody's just going to stay away unless, you know, you're a pro. So
yeah,
there was chirping all the time, but that was it.
I want to bring up a funny story of Nate, I think, chirping a little bit, and not in the way of like someone should do something, but someone maybe shouldn't be doing something. The Ride to Sky, old Adam Scrow, like was just, you know,
Big
singing. Adam Scrow.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Adam Walls.
Yeah. So Adam Scrow was like going up the climbs, like singing and like laughing and trying to cheer us on, like the front group, and Nate and I are just like on the back in like the pain cave because that was a climbing course and we're bigger guys than pretty much, you know, almost any cyclist around, and
Definitely
those hills were
bigger than
killing
Adam.
us.
Yeah.
And I just heard Nate in front of me like muttering stuff.
I hear him from behind me. He's like, you know, it must be nice to be 145 pounds.
Yeah, me and Big Dog had already been dropped at that point. I remember that.
I was not having a good time, and Adam is being Adam, like just full of life and just being silly.
Always positive.
He's always positive,
Yeah.
but he always wants to ask me, "How you feeling, Nate? How you doing? How you feeling?" I'm like, he asked me that like 5 times, and I was just like, living the dream, Adam. I'm living the dream right now. But yeah, that was a punchy course, and you know, once you're in the pain cave and somebody's just having a good time and you're not, yeah, I was chirping a little bit, not necessarily at Adam, but
No,
he was on the receiving end of it.
that was a fun, just good-natured, fast ride. But
Yeah, for sure.
Well, anything else we want to talk about, crits, Gabe?
I'm going to try to get him to go down to Mississippi with me whenever he unmutes his mic for Tour de Hernando. It'll be fun.
I don't know.
It's got a road race.
Racing, yeah.
It's got a road race.
Yeah, the road race sounds more fun to me than crit racing, but I could be completely wrong. I'd say crit racing probably would be better for like my power profile, but I think I'm a pretty good bike handler. I just don't trust other people in those situations. Like,
well, you weigh more than most of them, like you said. Just bully them off their line.
That's not
Yeah,
fun.
there was a couple of times that we got elbow to elbow, and these guys are 130 pounds, and I'm 200. So
No concern there.
We've talked about it before that, like, I'd rather send a 10-foot drop on a mountain bike into a sketchy line than probably be like wheel to wheel with 50 people I don't know. At least like going through those type of corners, but
I definitely think
eventually.
You definitely have the power profile to do it. And at that point, like, if you have the power, to me, it was all about remaining calm, because everybody, it's like a beehive. Like, once it starts getting buzzing, like, there's a super nervous energy, and people don't know how to handle it. So you can really prey on everybody else's downfall if you can play your cards right.
Yeah, it comes to the point though, like, just like maybe what you did, you were stronger probably than everyone in the 4-5, and it's like fun to win, but like I would be probably wanting to be in the 3-4, like with Justin and stuff, and then
you don't want to be there. I don't want to be there.
Well, just on like a more even playing field. Like, to me, it's like I'd rather lose really bad than beat people that.
I wish there was a Cat 6.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just me. I'd rather lose than beat up on people. That's why, like Justin saying, I could push people around. I'm like, I know I could. And like,
oh no, you're gonna push people around in the 3-4-2 because you're 200 pounds. Like,
that's generous, right there.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. That's all I gotta say about Chris. Probably you did some cyclocross, Justin, today.
Oh,
you
yeah.
did get on the podium.
I did get on the podium.
Congratulations.
It was the third race in the Super Prestige. I've been racing 3-4s and that in the St. Louis scene since like the beginning of last year. I got 4th in the first race this year. Like 14th last weekend. I blame that fully on mechanicals. There's a video up on my channel right now that you can just hear my derailleur not happy the entire time. It was really bumpy, so it kind of just exacerbated all the issues. Today ended up riding pretty well. It was wet and it started kind of drying up as the races got started. So all the lines got burnt in, were super nice. So it was fast, very, very fast. It was out at Gordon Moore Park. Yeah, it's a good time. The guys up there at the cyclery do a really good job, put on a really good race. All their stuff's like super technical. You mountain bikers are going to laugh at it, but that's okay. Yeah, it's a good time. And then obviously the Bubba series comes up in 2 weeks. Cosmos CX is in Columbia, Missouri next weekend. So I will be all over traveling quite a bit. Gabe, if you want to do a cross race, Pumpkin Hop is in 2 or 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I think. It's $10 for racing all day, and you can race as many races as you want.
My October is pretty crazy at the moment. Going on a fishing trip
Saturday
with my brother. Well, that's even worse. Fishing trip with my brother, and then we'll talk about it later. But you got BT Epic and Catalyst this next month. So,
all right.
Yeah, it's busy October.
I'll get you out one of these days.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'd enjoy doing cross. I think I would enjoy just going out and maybe not taking it super seriously, but kind of like how the Thursday night crits are kind of treated.
It's so hard to take it seriously. It's so hard to take it seriously because there's like beer hand-ups and shit.
And be our first time doing a cross race together and see what happens.
I would love to see it.
It looks so brutal.
Yeah, I sent the rest of these guys a picture of my cross bike after the race today, and it just like it looks bad. It looked bad. It was muddy and covered in grass, and Like apparently my bottom jockey wheel was like completely caked up. So I took it in a sprint, took third in a sprint. Not a Nate Jones sprint, but definitely a less power, more finesse.
Were first and second off the front, or were you sprinting them?
Yeah, I actually thought I was actually sprinting for fourth. So I don't know what happened to one of the guys in front of me, but they were off the front. And then in the last lap, I was getting caught by a guy. I realized it's just going to be better to just chill because I'm just racing him at that point in time. And we kind of jostled back and forth, and I made sure that he burnt some matches coming out of corners, just going in real slow and coming out even slower, just to piss him off. Sorry, dude. And then every single time he'd go to pass me on a straight, I would stand up and put in a little dig just to make him work a little bit harder. Eventually he got around me, and he kind of led into the last corner actually, and it was like a S final straight, and he sprinted to the first corner of the little straight and left the other side wide open. So I took one pedal stroke off and then attacked over the top and got him by about a half a bike length. So it was pretty fun.
Nice.
So if a guy like me wanted to go do a cross race as a beginner, you can bring a mountain bike, right?
Bring whatever you want. Yeah. None of these are USA Cycling specific, but even if they were, at State Champs last year, bring a mountain bike, bring whatever you want to. Bring a gravel bike, bring a road bike.
They don't enforce the 38C rule at these?
38s are wide. I run 33s because that's technically
Is that the limit? UCI limit?
That is technically the UCI limit, yeah, but for the rest of us amateurs, it's technically 38. But then they want more people in the sport, so the lower categories, it doesn't matter. Like, run what you brung. If you want to bring your Trek 5200 plus, but you can do it.
Is a mountain bike competitive? Like if you brought a hardtail with big tires?
Yeah. I've been beat by plenty of dudes on mountain bikes actually. And kind of the reason why is the courses, all the parks in St. Louis are extremely bumpy. So just having a lot more air volume in your tires and then a little front suspension can go a long way. Where you kind of get penalized, obviously, is when you have to carry the bike uphill. Today there was a run up, the barriers to the bottom, probably a 35-step hill. Yeah, it was terrible. But that's kind of where you'd get punished for riding a mountain bike, but the rest of the course you'd be super fast.
Anybody thinking about cross racing this fall? No, Hank? Not going to?
Hank's shaking his head no.
No, Nate?
And the picture you sent is not further encouragement to try it for sure. That looks miserable. Then you got to clean it.
Well, see, here's the thing, is I needed to clean all my bikes anyway, so I just had like a 45-minute long bike cleaning session where I took the road bike out, cleaned it, took the cross bike out and cleaned it, actually cleaned the mountain bike, spit on the chain a little bit.
Well, Hank, if you do one and you have a dirty bike, I'm sure Austin at Bike World would love to take in your dirty bike.
He likes his bikes dirty, huh?
Yeah, that's what I've heard, that they love dirty bikes down there.
The worse, the better, really.
All right. Well, go ahead.
I was about to say, I'm not joining in this conversation.
Well, Hank, you're here to tell us about senior games, and you cleaned up there last year. Going to go back in strong again this year?
I wouldn't use the phrase cleaned up, but I had a good race last year. Yeah, so
yeah, you did good.
This is my third year doing this event. First year I did the exhibition gravel race. It was the first time they did that. That wasn't a national qualifier. I was in the gravel racing that year pretty heavy, so I did the gravel race and the time trial. And then last year I did the 20K road race and the time trial. Both of those are national qualifiers this year. So that's what I'll do again this year. It'll be a 5K time trial in the morning, about a 90-minute break, and then it'll be a 20K road race. And they throw all the competitors, every age group, men and women, all go at once on the 20K time trial. It's just a big square loop out in the country, really 2 hills to contend with. And then it's a decent ride, but the last 2 miles is where the real race happens. And so that's just, this year my goal is just to stay up towards the front. And I've been working, last year, if you look at my video on YouTube, if I had a good sprint last year, I could have won the race, and I just had 0 sprint last year. So look at my Strava, I've been doing sprints at least once a week. And, if I'm there at the end, I at least want to have a sprint. It doesn't mean I'll win it. It just means that at least I'll be able to get out of the saddle and put down the sprint. So that's my plan this year, is to really work on that. So it's been good. My plan's been okay this year, so I feel pretty good coming into it.
I think we need that Nate Jones sprint plan or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I know.
What's the sprint plan?
He's got good sprint form. I watched that video I took of you guys when we did the crit race.
You get your base by just sniping Strava segments at Glendale. That's
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually don't really do any sprint work. It's just we have a couple of sprints on our group rides that we all go for. So I mean, other than that, I'd say mountain bike, just being punchy. You're
just a natural sprinter. Well, yeah, mountain biking is like 30-30s and stuff. You're just, working hard over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So, Hank, you're doing the time trial and the road race this year, yeah?
I'll do both of them this year, yeah. Yeah, so this year is a qualifier for nationals, which is in 2025 in Iowa. So it's nice and close. It's here in the Midwest. So I really want to qualify for both of those, because I think at nationals those will be on different days, the time trial and the road race. So if I'm going to take the time to go, I want to qualify for both. You just have to take top 3 in your age group in the state of Illinois in order to qualify for those races. So I can't predict what the competition is going to be like, but compared to last year, I feel like I should be able to make it into the top 3 in my age group, which is the 50 to 55 or 50 to 54, however they break it up.
And then if you don't get it this time, do you have another shot next year?
No, it's every 2 years they do nationals. So that's it. Got to qualify this year.
You said that the time trial is a mass start. Is it draft legal?
No, the road race is a mass start. The time trial, I think they start us 30 seconds or 60 seconds apart. And not everyone does the time trial. I think last year, I don't know, less than half of the people who did the road race did the time trial. So on the road race, you're competing against people who have fresh legs. So there's a good and a bad to that, right? The good is I'm good and warmed up and primed and ready to go. And the bad is I've already burnt some matches on the time trial.
So do you have any estimated times that you think you're going to knock out for time trial?
Top secret.
No, so my goal is, last year I averaged 293 watts. I just want to kind of be in the 300, maybe a little more 300 watt range for that distance. And if I do that, I think that'll put me in. I don't have to win the time trial. I just want to be in the top 3. But the road race, the goal is to win your age group. But it's a race and it's a mass start, so I want to be at the front, no matter who's up there with me.
Yeah.
You doing any 300 watt efforts on your days?
I am. Yeah. So I've been doing the time trial. So I've been doing intervals, training more like a swimmer. Swim. I used to do triathlon, so I know how to train for swim. So I've been doing more like a swimmer on my time trial training. And then, so at least once a week I'm on the time trial bike. I'm doing different length intervals, but really focusing on being able to do, 5K at 300 watts. So I'll do a little test run midweek this week just to see if that's realistic for me. I'll probably go to the refuge and do that. But the biggest thing is I want to be able to finish the time trial and feel pretty good. I don't want to feel completely wasted. So that's why I'm specific to that number. Even if I feel a lot better than that, I'm probably not going to push much harder than that, because I want to come into the road race feeling like I have some legs under me.
All right. Well, let me know when you do it. I'll sit behind you and yell at you the whole time. How about that?
It'll probably be 5:30 in the morning.
Oof. No, sorry, I can't do that.
Yeah,
It's 5:30 in the afternoon, maybe.
yeah. No, I do it in the morning. So sorry.
Bless you.
You can comment on my Strava post.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
I'm
been
looking
seeing
forward
some
to
big
that.
numbers on the Strava post. Some of those intervals are north of 350. I seen. I wouldn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, and it's hard. Time trialing is different than road racing. I don't have to put the big intervals on the road bike because, in my experience, the time trial training does spill over to the road bike really well, but the road biking intervals don't carry over to the time trial bike quite as well. If you're not used to that position, you can't really put the power down as well. So you'll see me putting those long, hard intervals in on the time trial bike, and I'm doing more time sprinting and stuff like that on the road bike. Because that's not my strategy. We'll see if it works.
Find out soon.
Let's move along here to Surgeon 100K, which did you just think of this the other day, Gabe, or is this something that's been ruminating in your head for a while?
We've been thinking about it for the last few weeks. So we have been thinking about actually just calling the group rides off at a certain date this year. So we just thought just to do something big for that pretty much. But yeah, we're going to do the 100K from the shop, I think on the 12th. That'll be like probably official, hopefully this next week, but probably more of a Fondo style than like a group, ride. So it's not a lead ride. We just say, here's the GPX file. Someone needs like a paper map. We can provide that and just send people off and that sort of thing. So it should be fun. It'll be similar to like what the Ride to Sky was, but then continue a little bit farther south and then head west and come back up through Carbondale and like Giant City Carbondale. So it'll be fun. I have no idea how many people will end up doing that. We're just maybe going to try to make it a thing just for like the end of the year send off.
Yeah. Last big bash. It's kind of like the rack ride was, I think, at Bike World, where you guys, it was kind of like, it was actually really well supported, I thought, even though it was always like, this isn't a supported ride, don't expect support. And then they did a great job of supporting the ride. But so it's unsupported. It's a show up and ride October 14th, 100K from the Bike Surgeon, right? Is it October 14th? Is that what
I think I'm looking. I think it's
October 12th.
12th. Yeah.
12th. October 12th. Cool.
Yeah. So that should be fun.
I'll be in Bentonville.
That is sad news.
Oh,
Yes.
too bad.
Gabe, it might just be you and me and Golson and Hank here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bring an e-bike.
Make sure Hank brings a TT bike so he can pull the flats.
There we go.
Yeah. That's
Sweet.
I want to roll at a decent clip, but not like racing it by any means, especially if it's just a few of us. Just keep it fun and just keep it moving.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll pull some folks in. Want to do 100K? We do 40.
Yeah.
On a typical Saturday, it's just 20 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it hits some good roads for sure. Some stuff that we typically don't do on the normal Saturday rides.
Okay, moving along here on this schedule, we've got BT Epic, Little Sugar. I don't know what we're talking about on this, so you're gonna have to clue me in.
So I thought about bringing up Little Sugar just because, Nate's doing it. That's probably why he's in Bentonville.
Yep.
Right, correct. And we have some other riders just from the area. So I just
Yeah, I think
kinda wanted
Stroh
to-
will be there. Michael Norris. I think
there might
those
be
two.
Yeah, I think they're both going. There might be a few other people. Justin's upside down. Okay.
My phone's gonna die, so I'm like trying to plug this thing in. I was hoping it would flip upside down.
And then also the BT Epic is the week after, and also I think both of them are doing that, and I'm going to do that. That's a 55-mile pretty backcountry single track race. I think it's probably like 90 to 95% single track. It's
a lot of the Ozark Trail.
Yeah, the Berryman.
Berryman. I'll go say I've never really rode that.
It's really, really good stuff.
I've rode the Middle Fork. Is it like the Middle Fork?
Possibly. I'm unfamiliar with that, but yeah, I did it 2 years ago and said I was never going to do it again because I crashed really bad. Yeah, I crashed really bad, like mile 20, right before where your sag stop is, and re-injured wrists that I had fractured earlier in the year from racing enduro, and my hands were pretty blown up the next 35 miles. So I got done and said, yeah, I don't feel like I want to do this again. And then, a couple hours later, after I got some food in me and maybe a few drinks, I was like, I think I could come back and beat my time. So here we are. We got a nice group of people. Pat and Sean Moore and some other people are going as well. So it'll be fun.
So Nate, what's I should know about, Little Sugar, because I listen to Bonk Bros and they talk about these races, but I don't remember what the deal is with Little Sugar. Is it like, what's the terrain? It's a gravel race, right?
This is actually the mountain bike race down in Bentonville. They've got Little Sugar and Big Sugar, and
Big Sugar is the gravel.
Yeah, Big Sugar is the gravel. Little Sugar is the weekend before. It's mountain bike. It's 63 miles, and I think it's like 95% single track around Bentonville. I don't know much about it. I'm just gonna go try to improve my corral position at Leadville.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of my only goal, and have some fun. It's gonna be, I think Scro did it, don't quote me, maybe 9 hours last year. Ooh. So it's gonna be a long race. So
yeah. I think he maybe did it faster than that. I don't think it's very difficult trail. It's like good machine-ish built like nice backcountry to machine built stuff.
Especially around town,
Mm-hmm. But I've
Can
heard
we go back and find out why exactly do you want to do Leadville? Like, what's appealing to you about that? The lack of oxygen?
I have no idea. It just seems like the biggest goal in mountain biking. So
yeah,
I just want to do it while I'm physically, or maybe not even physically capable, just mentally capable.
Yeah.
As you all know, I've kind of been in and out of cycling, so I'm trying to strike while the iron's hot, and I've already found out that it's cooling down a little bit.
Well, Nate, good. From what some of the gravel pros are saying and some of the lifetime people are saying, it's pretty much a gravel race. You might as well run drop bars.
Drop bars on your mountain bike.
It's been discussed.
Yeah.
Maybe Leadville.
Yeah.
I just looked up Adam's time, so just in case he listens, he did it in 6 hours and 2 minutes last year.
Oh, that's a big difference.
Wow, that's way better than I thought it was.
Yeah, I think he did a really good time. He was in, I don't think he'd mind me saying, I don't know if he's necessarily in not as good shape as last year, but he was in really good shape last year and put in a really good time. I think he's actually maybe beat a few of the elite guys that had some issues, so. But I'd say you could for sure do it under 7, I would think, for sure, Nate.
Yeah, I do hope so. We did Lutz and 99 together, and I think I finished 20 minutes behind him.
Mm-hmm. How climby is Little Sugar? Is it really climby?
Yeah, I'd say, 60 miles, or is it 65, Nate?
Yeah, it's like 62, 63.
My guess, it's going to have 4,000 feet of vert. That's just me guessing.
Okay. Well, speaking of vert, I guess we need to talk about Spooky Catalyst. Mm-hmm. It's October 28th, last Saturday of October. It really
Yep.
is spooky this year, right before Halloween. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a sore subject for me from last year. I was hurting bad at the end, and Nate caught me, and I was having some mechanicals, and he took advantage of me.
You look like an old man on his bicycle. Whenever I got him, his knees were about like this because his seat was about 6 inches too low. So he was doing this when I caught him.
And he was like, "Oh, prime, fresh meat right here," and he caught me on the last lap, in like the kind of technical, like coming towards the beach, like right before the bridge. And I tried to put in a few attacks, like with out of the saddle, because I couldn't really sit all that well to see if I could pop him off me, and just never happened. And I think went back and forth a few times up the climb, or maybe did you just sit on?
I just sat on because I seen you sitting down, and at that point I was like, that cannot be very efficient. I know he's got to be hurting at this point, so I just played the long game.
What was the mechanical problem? Your seat post slipped in, and you didn't have a 5mm.
No, my dropper post wouldn't come all the way back up, because that race, it wasn't like muddy. It was slick. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, I remember it being
And that post had already kind of been giving me some issues, and then I went down actually on the first lap going into the catalyst. There was like kind of just the
there was a tree root there.
Yeah, the tree root, and Kate Carrier and I were riding together, and I was just following her, and I was like, "Oh, I'm riding pretty good. I'm behind Kate, like doing well." And yeah, I hit that root, and like I go this way, bike goes this way, like down the hill, and there's actually a descent right there. I'm like sliding on my stomach like Superman down that hill after I grab the bike, and then after that, the bike just like never quite was working.
I wonder why.
Yeah, me and Austin were riding together. Austin did the same thing. Like, he sat on my wheel for 2 laps, and he was like, "I don't care about beating anybody else." He just wanted to sit on my wheel and try to outsprint me. And we were sitting there, and we were coming out of Catalyst. We was doing the climb out of Catalyst for the second time, and I just happened to look up, and I seen Gabe, and I'm hurting at this point, and I'm like, I've got to go into a deep and dark place, because there's one person at this race that I want to beat, and it's Gabe. And it just was another like 20 minutes of pain. But I wasn't going to let Gabe know it. Like, when he was talking to me, I was like, "Oh yeah," like trying to play it off like I was fresh. I was dying the entire time.
Yeah, we went out hot on that race. I remember it went out fast, and actually Nick Reel ended up winning that race, but he was right in front of me, and the front group was kind of dropping us and on the first little section before we get to the road, the first time you hit a road. And I was like, "Nick, you gotta go, man. Like, if they get to that road and we're not sitting on, like, there's 5 people up there, they're gonna really pull away from us." And he did, and then I guess I gave him the motivation to go, and he ended up winning, actually. He was like, "Oh yeah, after the race, I wanted to quit, like right there, and just let you around." So I shouldn't have said anything to him, apparently, because
you all went out hot.
So, Gabe, I know there was talks of making the sport and expert both 2 laps. Is that happening, or?
No, unfortunately. I petitioned for that, and if you want that to happen, you can petition Touch Nature. But yeah,
sorry, I won't be racing the expert with you boys.
I'm not racing. I'm not racing expert. I think that is a week after BT Epic.
That's gonna be hard.
I'm gonna do the 2 laps.
You know what? I'm gonna race the beginner.
No, I don't think that should be allowed. But I'm going. I think
I'm not allowed to win, but you are. No, I see.
No. Let me explain. I'm gonna, since I control the SOIL Grand Prix, it's the 2 lap race that counts. But if I win, or like get even on the podium, I'm gonna abstain from taking that trophy because I really don't believe I should be racing some of the people that are in sport. I don't think that's necessarily right.
Get that focus in there. There's the SOIL Grand Prix right there.
It doesn't matter for
points. Other bonus points for a Grand Prix people in a Grand Prix that wanted to do the expert class, an extra little kicker.
I mean,
because last year I think there was only one guy and one girl that did the 3-lap expert. And I remember my video. I said, "Oh, I could have gotten on the podium and just slow rolled that sucker. It'd have been a miserable day because it was wet and muddy, but."
I could do that, but the podium would be put up by the time I finished.
Yeah.
I think you and me both.
Be like, well, you would be on.
We could say that it's just your 2 fastest laps, and I could take the time or something like that, and maybe we should do that. I'll talk to a few people that are actually there that can race expert, and they might change it. Like if no one signs up and everyone's like, yeah, we don't want to do that, they might change it. But I think just take the first 2 laps. Don't take their best 2, just take their first 2. Be like, that's your SOIL Grand Prix. But still, I don't really want to race three laps.
I wouldn't.
If I were to do something like that, that would work fine.
If somebody wants
if I were to do expert because there's not many people in it, then I would know I can just, for the Grand Prix, I just do all I can the first 2. And then for placing as far as the expert class, I can do the third or whatever I got left and feel pretty good about it. Just a thought I had last year about doing that, because if I'm competing against you guys in the 2-lap, I don't stand a chance. And I predicted that last year. So that's not me fussing. It's just me as far as Grand Prix points. That's not going to help me much.
Yeah.
I'm doing the 1.
That's so lame.
There's also
I'm not in the hunt for Grand Prix points anyway.
There's I think Sean Moore will guide you around one of the little kid loops.
No, there you go. I will say Justin's putting on a little bit because he has been mountain biking somewhat this year, and he's been moving up the segments and been riding strong. So Nate, you and I need to be watching out, because right when Justin learns how to do a turn on dirt, we might be in trouble actually.
I believe that.
Well, Hank, you're safe, because I'll probably go to the race and race it, but I just until I figure out what's going on with my heart, I don't plan on being too competitive. So, your position is
recently. I haven't hit the mountain bike at all, so I'll have a couple of weeks to hit the trails, and that'll be it for me. So
it'll be okay. You could probably ride your time trial bike and do okay. You can beat me, so you'll be fine.
Those are my favorite videos, just to see both sides of the coin of the Hank and Matt rivalry.
Those are both your videos, yeah.
Those
are my favorite.
I wish I could make it a better rivalry.
You won the last race.
Well, but
one day you beat me.
I beat at one time, but I just think it's going to be. I'm not really hitting on all cylinders right now. So
sure.
We'll see. Maybe I'll feel better in October.
I think we're going to have to strap a camera to Gabe and Nate and watch their rivalry unfold.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
It's been that way for years. I
know.
Remember for I think it was maybe 2019 or something like that. I rode with Nate every once in a while, and at the time I didn't really ride with Barry Parks much either. But there was, I think that summer at Glendale, every time I looked around, someone was taking my KOM out at Glendale. It was either Nate or Barry, and then I would the next morning drive out there and get it back. And then 2 days later, I'd get a notification saying someone took this, and all of us were just chasing around each other, but never riding with each other for a whole summer.
It's shadow games.
Barry accused me of cheating at the Lower Bluff time.
Yeah, it helps that it's in my backyard though. So
I kind of wanted to bring that up. That you, I think, always get bunched in with the Kentucky guys, but you're actually technically in Illinois.
Yeah, we wouldn't have invited him on the show if he was a Kentucky guy. I'm just
It's
kidding.
understandable. I'll wear my shirt and support.
That's okay. Not all of us can be right.
I'm
No,
from the
they're-
deep. I'm from the deep South, Illinois.
He's the
Yeah.
I was making fun of like what the donut writer wasn't actually Southern Illinois. Nate can say that about us in Williamson County. We're not the true Southern Illinois.
That's
he's
true.
Deep South. It's funny.
Yeah, you're north of the Mason-Dixon.
Yeah. Anything below 64 counts. We're there. Okay, so the last thing on our schedule is Rin Lake. This is the 28th, so that's next Saturday. And it's really, if you're a person who would like to maybe bring your kids and go try out mountain biking, the little trail that I've devoted my life to, that's about 5 minutes from my house. I've been working on it a lot. So Rin Lake asked me to kind of hold some sort of, they're helping me, and we're kind of having some sort of little ride event here. I'm hoping that I saw some of my old buddy Matt Phipps, I think from Harrisburg, is coming. I'm like, oh, you're not the kind of rider I'm trying to attract to this. I can't keep up with you to guide you on the trail. So just good luck. I hope you can follow the signs we posted. So anyway, but yeah, it's a pretty low key event. But good for, it's a good trail for people who are wanting to try out. If you live up here in the Northlands around Rin Lake in Franklin County and stuff, Mount Vernon people, it's really a fun little mountain bike trail, and it's in pretty good shape right now. And so you can come check it out next week, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And we'll hopefully get a group of people around the 5-mile trail loop without losing anyone or maybe breaking anyone or breaking any bikes. So all are welcome. And that's all I had to say about that. I got a picture here. Let's see if I can get my camera. There we go. Look at that. There's Nate right there.
At the
Printed
hill.
that out. Just wanted to.
I just
wanted
want to say
show everybody.
something. The guy in second place, that's my buddy Petey. He's actually from South Africa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
here
cool.
farming for harvest. And he's like, I want to come up and race. So he did the same thing I did, showed up and got second. So that was pretty cool to do that with him.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Oh, Nate, if you end up wanting to do another one, you can maybe convince me to ride for you if a teammate would help you. I think I feel more comfortable like being a support crew than actually trying to go out and win.
Well,
It's fun to do that too. It is fun. I enjoy that just about as much as racing for myself sometimes, thinking like I'm trying to help somebody else win, or do something. It's fun. Strategies.
You still have to
Yeah,
make it to the
definitely
end, though, Gabe.
What was that?
You still have to make it at the end because he's going to need you in the last kilometer.
Well, the trick is that we're both going to sit in till the end.
exactly. Everybody gave me a hard time about that, but I was like, I had
You
a
don't
lot
have
of
to
energy.
Yeah, you don't have
Hey,
to.
you don't have
pull.
to.
That's what racing is.
Yeah, I will just follow Hank right backwards when he tries to pull off.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Well, guys, do we have anything else we want to cover? I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
It's
Me too.
Yep, I'm good.
I
All
think
good.
this is about to wrap it up. So thanks, Nate. Thanks, Hank. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Gabe. Another great episode. We are really glad to get you. If Austin ever wants to get on an episode, he said this is his favorite podcast. If he ever wants to get on an episode, tell him to win a race.
I think he was jealous. He was definitely jealous when I told him.
Yeah, there's always room for. This is a coveted show. We've had to turn a few people down, and there's a lot of prestige to getting on this show. Several dozen people watch it and listen to it. So congratulations. I really look forward to actually following your training and following what you do to get ready for Leadville, because I think Leadville is insane. Like for a guy, and one question before you go, I know when you quit riding, and we're racing the toy cars for a while, what did your weight get up to? Do you remember what your highest weight was when you got back into cycling?
Yeah, I have one of my best friend, Kyle. He lives out in Denver, and I went out there, and I hadn't been riding. Me and Austin did like 2 road rides before I went to Denver, and I went out there and I seen 243 on the scale, and I was miserable at elevation. I was like, I'm over this. So that's kind of where it all started. So down 43 pounds.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, because I knew last year when I raced with you at the Cape Girardeau race, you know, you've come down a lot since then. So and you were good then. So cool. Well, guys, thanks. Any last words?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being with us.
Anytime.
Yep.
New host.
See you later.
It was a good time.
You can become a regular if you want. You could become a regular.
Oh yeah, that would be so fun.
You got to come to the shop though whenever we do.
You can drive to the shop on the shop days. Yeah, I don't know. Well, guys, thanks for listening. This wraps it up. Goodbye. See y'all later.
Yep. See you.
I'm ending the show.